All right, it gives me great pleasure to introducing David Altendorff, a manager of the finest team in Sussex, Hastings United. He joins us. Thank you very much for coming on, Dave.
Pleasure, pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, this is I think, seventh Hastings manager we've had on this podcast in the last, and it's getting on for nearly, it will be 6 years in a few months. Been quite a tumultuous time over the last few years after quite a settled period when I first started doing this in terms of management. First of all, Dave, before I start talking about everything else, I mean, how you feel? How you settling in? Do you feel?
Yeah, good. Settled in really nicely. We've done 11 games now. So we joined at the end of October, myself and Alex, and we've felt really warm and welcome, since arriving at the club, and everybody's kind of been really hospitable and helpful and all hands on deck. And yeah, they couldn't have done any more really to sort of make it easy for us to transition. It's obviously difficult coming in the middle of the season, a little bit of upheaval for the players as well, and a little bit of sort of turbulence for the supporters. And as you sort of already alluded to, they've had a lot of managers over the last few years. So yeah, hopefully we can get a little bit more consistency and continuity and have a bit of a longer spell, and hopefully start bringing the club back up through the league.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm all into that, Dave. Thank you. So Dave, you've obviously had some management experience.
So my background's really in youth football. So I'm a PE teacher by trade. So I was a PE teacher at Barndean School for 6 years. And then I met my wife, Kirsty, who's also a PE teacher, and we went off travelling around the world. And when I came back, a former colleague of mine got in touch and said that there's this job that's come up at Thomas Bennett Community College, which essentially was running their football academy program. So I've been there 10 years now. Really, really enjoy it. Had a lot of great opportunities and seen a lot of players develop through our program over the years. On top of that, I did Sussex Schools for 3 years. I did Brighton Boys for 4 years. Did Haverford under 18s for 2 years. So lots and lots of experience at sort of under 18s and below. Been quite successful. Managed to reach two National Cup finals. And then I think the change probably came when I stopped playing myself. So when I got to about 35, 36, I wanted to go into the senior men's part of the game. And I got my first opportunity with Naz, who had been my assistant at Haverford under 18s. And he was captain of Lancing prior to us going there as a management duo. So I went in as Naz's assistant, sort of took charge of recruitment and training and things like that. And we did really well together. It was a good partnership. Really learned a lot from Naz as well, and we had a very similar style of play, and we were quite successful. We ended up basically finishing first in the league that year, but it was the 19 to 20 season, so just the sort of advent of COVID, and they decided to call the season null and void. So we stepped down at that moment. We just felt like we couldn't sort of endure it all over again with all the uncertainty that was going on. And then they subsequently decided to forget about the null and void, and a couple of weeks into the next season decided to promote Lancing anyway on the points of the game that we'd sort of accumulated the previous season. So that was frustrating, but one of those things is what it is. And then I had an opportunity to go back to one of my previous clubs, Ringmer, which is now AFC Ringmer, or possibly Ringmer AFC. They've had various iterations. They've basically gone down to step 7, but they've had this amazing new facility with the 3G and the clubhouse and stuff. So their kind of goal was to try and get them promoted back to the county league, back into sort of senior football. So I went in there as what was called head of football at the time, really. But essentially, whilst I sort of touched base with all the other teams within the club and the junior section and things like that, I was mainly overseeing the men's first team. And we finished runners up that year, which was enough to get promoted. But then we had another problem, which was, you might remember at the time, the pitch was laid too small. So it wasn't quite the right dimensions to go up. So that meant that I moved on again because I was ambitious and I wanted to sort of go up through the leagues and achieve my own sort of goals and ambitions as a manager. So I left Ringmer, but left them in a good position, and we're still on really good terms. I'm still connected with my soccer school business down there, which has been running today really successfully. I then joined New Haven as head coach for a brief spell with my friend Sean Breach, who invited me in. We did really well there. We were on the back of 5 wins in a row. We were second in the league. We just won 10-0 against Canterbury in the FA Cup. So we were on a really good run, but I always knew that I wanted to be a manager. And then the opportunity to go in at Loxwood came up. So Mark Lacey contacted me from Loxwood again around October time and said that the club's struggling with second bottom. Would you be interested in coming in and taking the reins? So I took that on. We ended up finishing 12 points clear of relegation and kept them up. And off the back of that, and probably my previous connection with Lancing, then Barry called me up from Lancing and said, look, we're replacing the manager. Would you like to come in and interview for this position at the number one? So that's how I ended up back at Lancing. We did very well that year. We sort of broke all club records. We finished just outside the playoffs in sixth position. But you know,
with that, Dave, what did you do? When you come in at Lancing again? What do you think you did? Was it anything more that you did, or was it just with the same players?
No,
change the system, or what was it, mate?
I think the system is fairly similar, style of football, brand of football. I've always been quite a sort of possession-based manager, and I like to play attractive football. And I think as a consequence to that, we get good crowds in and we attract good calibre of players to the club. But it was a massive overhaul because everybody left. It was basically where Coxey had been offered the job at Burgess Hill. Yeah. So as you can expect, and no problem about it, Coxey took most of the better players along with him to Burgess Hill. So we had to sort of recruit 15, 16 new players again. But fortunately, with my sort of background at Step 5 and County League football as a player, and then
you had the phone numbers.
I sort of cherry picked all the best players from that division and brought them over to Lancing. And some of them were playing, you know, in Isthmian football for the first time in their careers and have gone on to achieve really good things and even jump up one division again into Step 3. So people like Jack Mears, and we had Andrew Briggs and Henry Watson and those sorts of, you know, people. And they did a really good job for us. And, you know, together it was a good fit and had a good season. And that's where, off the back of that one, the sort of Whitehawk opportunity came for me.
Okay, yeah. And obviously your time at Whitehawk was only a short run. I mean, what was that? Did you think that was a culture clash, or kind of were you set up to fail, or what was it at Whitehawk? Because I've got friends at Whitehawk, and they just said for whatever reason it just didn't work. I mean, what's your opinion on that one, Dave?
Yeah, it quite clearly it didn't work. It wasn't a good fit. I mean, it's probably worth pointing out that I went in initially as assistant manager with my friend Ross McNeely. And we're still really good pals now. We speak all the time and help each other with football-related things. I've actually got a couple of his players on loan at Hastings from Bromley. So we're on, you know, really good terms. But I think as a sort of football partnership, it didn't quite gel between us. We maybe wanted to play slightly different ways and saw the game slightly differently. So there was maybe, in hindsight, a little bit of like friction. And I think we're both sort of, you know, old enough and ugly enough to admit that now. And I probably were as well. I'd come as being a number one, and so had he. And we both maybe wanted to have a little bit too much say. So that wasn't a great fit, I don't think, between us. And then when Ross eventually stepped down, obviously the club was bottom of the league. Confidence was shot to bits. It was really hard to recruit players. And I felt like, because I'd been there since the beginning with Ross, it wasn't enough of a change. It very much felt like the Emperor's New Clothes kind of scenario. So I could sense that in the short period I did 8 games. I think we won 1, drew 2 and 5. And I just knew that it wasn't going to really change enough for us to get out the relegation places. So I felt what was best for the club at that point in time was to step down and enable Sean to come back in and pick up the pieces, really. And he's done an excellent job of that and really galvanised the group. And, you know, they've really kicked on. So credit to him.
So the opportunity at Hastings, Dave, you said you're coming in. Obviously, Hastings have been struggling for getting on for about two years, really. I mean, kind of we started slipping just before the Sussex Cup final while Aggie was still there, and that slide went into the season after, which was a frankly shocking season for anyone that watched Hastings. I mean, I don't know how much you heard about it, or would you would know much about it. Obviously, you're busy with your own stuff, but we really were appalling. And most of those, most of those players have gone. We've gone through numbers of managers. Lee Carey came in, and I think it's a little bit harsh on Lee that because we had such a terrible season the season before, you know, I don't think fans were maybe as patient as they could have been, but the results, it's a results business, and it was unacceptable, you know. I don't know if you agree with me, but like as Hastings, it's unacceptable the position that we were in. So I think the change was going to happen. So you come in, I mean, what was the remit that you were given, Dave? Coming in it's still, well, you know, it's potentially still a very awkward spot you're in. I I mean, obviously, we both think that Hastings should be going up the league, but you know, when you took over, it wasn't looking. It was looking really hairy. Yeah. So I mean, when you took it on, what was the remit?
Yeah, well, I don't think like we need to beat around the bush. I actually interviewed for the job in the summer. So I think I was close to getting a job, you know, at the start of pre-season, and obviously in the end they went with Lee Carey. And I think they were sort of the opinion that one of the things that was most important was getting that connection back with the supporters. So I think they felt it was the right fit to go with an ex-player, an ex-captain, someone that was a bit of a legend at the club. But as you say, it was a difficult task for Lee going in. I think that's his first managerial post as well, so maybe lacked a bit of experience and things. I'm sure he'll benefit from that short experience that he had with Hastings and be an excellent manager when he gets an opportunity. And I know Johnny as well, and Johnny's an excellent coach. But as we said before, sometimes it just isn't the right fit. It's not the right moment in time, and so on and so forth, as it wasn't for me at Whitehawk. So sometimes the stars just have to align. And I think at this moment in time, it's been a really good fit for the club and for myself. As you say, we've got to a really good start. Obviously, it's early days. I think we're about 8 points clear of relegation now. When I joined, we were second bottom. We only had 11 points on the board. We've now got 20 points from our last 10 games, so we're averaging 2 points a game. Scored loads of goals. I think we scored 24 goals, and again, putting the ball in the back of the net was really challenging with the previous regime. So I think that you know, we're playing some good football. It's been entertaining. You know, sometimes it's been like edge of your seat stuff and a little bit nervy towards the end, but ultimately we're getting the points, and that's all that matters. So hopefully it can continue. I would have thought at this stage it's, you know, unrealistic to say that we can push on and get to the playoffs this season, but we'll just finish as high as we can. But if you look at the league table, it's kind of grouped into like three sort of cohorts. You've got that top six that are pulling away and very strong. Then there's a kind of middle six, and we're at the top end of that bottom half, if you like. So in 13th position, trying to chase down Broadbridge Heath now will be our next target, and try to overtake them and try and move up one place at a time. But yeah, as I say, we'll just try and finish as strongly as we can, and all the while with a view to next season, trying to put the foundations in place regarding players and culture and expectations and standards and so on, so that when we come to pre-season next year, we're in a really good position to have a really good go at it.
I was having fun with the pre-season this season. It was a bit of a mess. So it's all good to hear what your plans are, Dave, there. I mean, we've got a big month ahead. If you look at the fixtures, we've obviously got teams around us: Ashford, Crowborough, and VCD Athletic, you know, and then we've got Croydon, Whiteley, Feversham, and then Three Bridges. So, you know, there's a potential there. If we can get a few points against them to push ourselves up the league. I mean, I didn't think I'd be saying this when you took over, mate, because I thought this can't be happening. We're going to drop down to step 5, but so it is amazing the turnaround, really, considering where we were at. I mean, potentially January. You know, I know you were saying about you don't want to talk about playoffs. Funny things happen, Dave. You know, as we say, we've got some goals in us. We do get a bit leaky sometimes, but if we have a good January.
Yeah, I actually think it's out of reach. I personally think that. I mean, Ashford will be a really tough game on the 27th. They've just hit a bit of form lately since they changed their manager. They've got a sort of new impetus, and they really seem to have the bit between.
That'll be a good game, that.
Good results. Yeah, it should be a cracker. Then Crowborough and BCD, like, you know, they're going to be challenging matches. They need points as well, so it's not going to be an easy task. And then we've got that sticky period, as you say, in January, where you kind of play, I think, 4 of the top 5 all back to back. But I was speaking to some of the lads about this. I actually think we'll play better against some of those sides, because they're the teams that try and open up a little bit, and there's more gaps. And I think it actually suits our style of play to play against some of the teams towards the top of the table. So we don't go into any match fearing anybody. You know, we certainly don't put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We try to win every game. I've always been of the mindset that you're better off trying to play for a win. And if you take, like, even the last 3 games as a sample size, we've won 2 out of the 3. Got 6 points on the board. We could have set up for a draw and got 3 points on the board, but been unbeaten. So I've always been of that mindset, just try and win every game. I'm not trying to look to hold on to unbeaten streaks or anything like that. Just try and get as many points as you can. I think this division this year, one thing you have seen from all of the sides is that anyone can beat anybody on their day. So no easy games, no whipping boys, but we'll just take it one game at a time.
Yeah, I mean, this league seems only Three Bridges really are steaming it, aren't they? But the rest of them, yeah, definitely. I mean, like look at Margate slipping up now after us, which losing again. So just talking about you though, Dave, you're well, with the magic of hindsight, I know that you're a West Ham fan. How did you how has West Ham got in your family? How did that occur, sir?
Yeah, so my dad moved to the country in the late 50s, and he was brought up in East London. He moved over from Sri Lanka with his family. So yeah, unfortunately, he wasn't brought over to Manchester or somewhere like that. But I've had to suffer. But yeah, both of my boys have quite rightfully decided to support other teams. I've got a Brighton supporter and an Arsenal supporter in the household, but yeah, I can't blame them.
Yeah. So yeah, so and your favourite players. So what who is it?
Yeah, I've got three really. The West Ham are my three favourite players. Joe Cole when he first came on the scene, and obviously I was gutted when he left to go to Chelsea with a sort of Mourinho and Abramovich era. Yeah. But I felt like he almost, in a way, he got all of his best traits coached out of him. I used to love him at West Ham, and obviously he became the captain at 21 or something like that. But he was such a maverick and he's such an entertainer. I just love watching him play. We have Paolo Di Canio as well, who's one of my favourites. Again, like a cult hero, temperamental, but always wanted to be the match winner. Always had that sort of, wanted to be the hero. Always take the game by the scruff of the neck, and yeah, always got some spectacular goals. And then the final one would be Julian Dix. I just love his attitude, no nonsense, tough tackler, yeah, uncompromising, and yeah, sort of try to maybe steal a few little bits of each of those to try and emulate in my own game. So I enjoyed the tackle, enjoyed the header, but yeah, also try to be creative as well.
Talking of your own game, Leon sent me a message from Icklesham. Icklesham's Leon. He's saying, "Are you available for Icklesham veterans on the 4th of January?"
Yeah, so I actually played a game for them. I can't remember. It was Wick. Yeah, they drafted me in because I know Jude McDonald. So Jude played. I think they were short players. So I've ended up playing one game for them and managed to notch a couple of goals, which was nice. And I think that was in the County Cup. So, yeah, they keep trying to drag me in, but I don't know. It's more tricky now because since I've obviously got the Hastings job and you're out the house all day, Saturday, it's pretty difficult with the missus and the kids to then do a Sunday as well. But I'm sure I'll get the boots on one more time at least before the end of the season.
That's proper negotiation. That needs taking place. You need the UN to do that for you, mate. Getting the Saturday and the Sunday. Yeah, okay. So in terms of the football, do you ever get down there? Do you ever try and catch a West Ham game?
You know what? I had a season ticket. The first year they went to the London Stadium, I had a season ticket. Prior to that, I'd go up 4 or 5 times a season, usually with my dad or my cousin. And I'm lucky now I might go and watch one game, but it'll be a Carabao Cup or something like that. Yeah. But no, I think now I've been down to the Emirates this year with one of the boys. We went to watch Arsenal, I think it was Arsenal Villa or something like that. And I took the other boys to watch Brighton. I think it was Brighton Spurs, which was a good game actually. So yeah, I think when I'm not at Hastings, I'll be at one of those 2 places. So just watch them from afar on the TV and get frustrated with the results.
Well, spending those win bonuses, if you're going Arsenal and things like that, these things cost you a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not a cheap day out.
So just ask, well, any message to the fans, Dave? Obviously, I know once we get to know a manager and like Aggie, Atelier, Elphick, all the other types that have been here for more than 5 minutes, is that we're good fans and we do get behind you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think already we've built a good rapport with the fans. Like I've really enjoyed it so far. Like the atmosphere is fantastic, and I know that the players as well like really sense it when you get close to the edge of the penalty box and you hear the roar go up and stuff. And funnily enough, there was an occasion in the Sevenoaks game where I was trying to get the boys to play forward a bit more and get it in the box. Obviously, we're chasing the game. And they made 3 or 4 passes in the centre circle and it went back to the goalkeeper. And I heard the groan. And I was looking behind me thinking, I feel exactly the same as you, believe me. Like, I don't want them playing back to the keeper either. But no, we do feel it. We feel the support. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And maybe just to reassure them that it's my intention to be here for the long term. Hopefully it'll be a few years before you get your next turnover, and it's not going to be another 5-minute job. I know you've been messed around a little bit in recent years, so I absolutely want to set up camp here. I'm really enjoying it, and I'd also say to be realistic with it. Obviously this year's a little bit trial and error. We're experimenting a little bit. we've got half an eye on next season. We pretty much need 4 wins now to, you know, cement our position in the league for next year. So yeah, there'll be periods that are sticky and we lose a couple of games. So just recognise what we're trying to achieve here, and it's a long process, but it's one that we're super confident that, you know, by the end of next year we'll be up near the top of the table and have something to celebrate.
Listen, absolute pleasure talking to you, Dave. Cheers, Dave. Thank you very much. I shall see you Saturday. Hope you have a wonderful Christmas dinner before we face the might of Ashford.
Cheers, Chris. Yeah, really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm on the cooking duty, so it's going to be hectic, but looking forward to it.
See you then, mate. See you then.